In the first part of lesson 6, we're going to build a basic spreadsheet model using sound spreadsheet modeling techniques. In this example, a company produces a variety of custom designed wood furniture for its customers. One favorite item is a bookshelf made from either cherry or oak. The company knows that wood prices and labor costs are likely to increase in the future. The table below shows the number of board feet, BF, and labor hours required for a bookshelf, the current cost per board foot and labor hour, and the anticipated annual increase in these costs. We're going to build a spreadsheet model that enables the company to experiment with growth rates in wood and labor costs so that a manager can see both numerically and graphically how the cost of the bookshelves increase in the next few years. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to copy the table, something outside the table to preserve the formatting. I'm going to paste it right here. I'm going to pick match destination formatting. Then I will change the color of our input cells. Formatting the worksheet. So we got the spreadsheet model formatted in worksheet L1 of lesson 6 with your last name at the end. Okay, so let's read this little paragraph about spreadsheet modeling. We formatted cells A1 to F25. Then I added these cells down here because we have this what if analysis right there. The blue cells are inputs. We're going to put these values into them. We're going to use T here is the current time period. W0 is the initial wage level. And then this is the percent change in wage. This is the current set of unit cost. This is the percent change per year right there. And T is future time. So today is time period 0. T being equal to 1, that means a year from now. T equal 2 means 2 years from now, right? And here's an example. This is 3 years into the future with a current labor market wage of $18.28. So let's insert the information into our table. So board feet required for the cherry, for the oak, it's 30. And then for the labor hours, it's 16. I'm going to change that to white because we're going to use a formula and we're going to go back and click on 16. So these two things are the same. I should do the same thing here because these are identical bookshelves. The bookshelves are identical, so they're going to require the same amount of board feet and they're going to require the same amount of labor. So these are referring to that input and that input, right? The current cost per board foot, and for cherry, it's $5.50 per board foot. For oak, it's $4.24. The projected increase of cherry is 2.4%, and the projected increase on oak is 1.6%. I'm going to get rid of the percent symbol here, and I'm going to get rid of the dollars here because this is dollars per board foot. The current labor cost is $18.28 per hour. So I'm going to get rid of the dollar sign right here. 1.7%. Now I want to demonstrate you have to be careful with units. This is dollars per board feet. So we're going to type this as 550. And the dollars per unit are outside the cell, right? Dollars per board feet. So we don't need the dollar sign inside. The percent symbol is outside the box. So we're going to just type the cost per labor hour is $18.28 per hour. The projected increase is 1.7%. The formula says initial price times 1 plus the percent change. We expect a 2.4% increase. We're going to raise that to this power. Notice that this is going to be 5.5. Why? Because any non-zero number raised to 0 power is going to be 1, and 1 times B9 is going to be B9. Now, if I drag this across, I'm going to get an error. These two are fine, but this is not fine. This should be 0. I'm going to drag that back there. So what we need to do is we need to put a dollar sign in front of the A because we want to fix the column. We want the purple box to remain in column A. So I'll put a dollar sign in front of the A. So I'm going to copy the formula and I'll put it down here. We need to pull this down to 1 When I press enter, it takes the wage here in B9, it multiplies it by the sum of 1 and that percentage, right? And then it raises that to the first power. So the thing in the parentheses here ends up being 1.024. And then we raise that to the first power. Now, if I drag this across, it should work. What's happening here is we're taking this wage in C9, 4.24. We're multiplying it by 1 plus C10. So that this shaded thing in gray is 1.016. And they're raising that to the first power, right? Now, if I drag this down, if I drag these two down, I get a problem, right? The problem is I haven't anchored the blue box and the red box. I need to anchor the blue box in row 9, row 10. Now I'm going to draw that across. So what's going on here is we're taking this, and then we're going to multiply it by 1 plus this percentage, so 1.024. We're going to raise it to the second power. We do the same thing with the wage in C9. We're going to raise 1.016 to the second power and then multiply that by 4.24. So this is a 2.4% increase on that. This is a 1.6% increase on that. This is a 2.4% increase on that. And this is a 1.6% increase on that. Now we can drag this down to 6. Notice that the oak doesn't rise as fast. It's only rising at 1.6% per year, right? Whereas the 5.5 is rising at 2.4%. It's rising faster. And this isn't a linear rise. This is a geometric rise. It's concave up. If we look at this over time, it's concave up. This actually looks more linear, right? But it's not. It's concave up too. Now I got to do the labor cost. So I'm going to drag this over here. And then I'm just going to modify the equation. So this is fine here. I want to pull this down to here, 1.7. And I want to pull this down to 18.28. And these two are the same. Why are they the same? Because this right here in parentheses is 1.017. And we're raising that to the 0 power. And any non-zero number raised to 0 power is 1. So we're multiplying this B13 by 1. Right. Then I'm going to copy this because I don't want to ruin the formatting. I'm going to copy that formula from the equal sign to the A19. I'm going to paste it right here. Drag this purple box down to 1 because now we're in this row here. We want labor cost in 1 year's time, right? Now, if I drag this down, we'll see what happens. We got another error problem. These boxes have to be in row 13 and 14. They have to be frozen in those two rows, right? So we're going to put a $sign in front of the 14 and a $sign in front of the 13. Now, when we drag this up and down, we're going to get wage rates increased by 1.7% each year. So each of these represent a 1.7% increase in the hourly wage rate. Okay, now let's calculate the cost per bookshelf. We got to multiply the cost per board feet. We got to multiply that by the board for cherry. And then we got to add that to what? The labor cost times how much labor it takes to build the cherry bookshelf. So this cherry bookshelf is going to cost us, in terms of wood, it's going to cost us the $550 times the 30 board feet. Then it'll cost us the 1828 times the 16 hours it takes to build one bookshelf. Now, if I drag this across, I'm going to get probably an error. Why is that? Well, this 424 is fine, but notice my labor costs is moved over to cherry. So I got to drag this back to labor, right? I want to multiply this 424 by the amount of board feet that goes into the oak. I want to multiply this labor cost per hour by the amount of hours that goes into building the bookshelf. Now, if I drag these down, I get a mistake. These two are fine. These two need to be frozen in their respective rows, 5 and 6. So I need to come up here and I needed to freeze 5 and 6. And then if I drag it across, again, I have that error, right? These two are fine because they're under oak. This labor cost per hour should be under labor, right? Not cherry. So what I also have to do is I have to freeze this purple box in column D. So I need to put a $ in front of the D there. Now, if I drag this up, I drag the 2 to the left, I got the correct answers in all 4, right? Now I can just drag it down. I'm going to take a break and insert these values into my math to see if I got all these answers correct. When I come back, they'll have green check marks. All right, welcome back. It looks like on one try, I got all green check marks. Now what I want to do is I want to create a chart in Excel that shows how the cost of oak bookshelves and cherry bookshelves are expected to rise in the future. So what I want to do is I want to highlight the time, 0 to 6, and then highlight cherry. I'm going to come up here to insert, and I want to choose the one with the lines. Now, what I need to do is I'll make it small for a second. I'm going to copy this, paste it over here. Then I'm going to move this over to oak. I'm going to grab the top edge, not the corner. I'm going to grab the top edge and slide it over to oak. And then I'm going to copy this. I'm actually going to do Control X, Command X in Mac, Command B or Command B in Mac. And you can see how they look over time, right? I'm going to format this so it looks better. I'm going to change the minimum to about 350, maybe 400. And then for down here, I'm going to change major units to 1, so I see every year. And then change the maximum to 6. I don't like the big square boxes. So I'm going to go to bucket here. I'm going to reduce the size to what it looks like for the oak. Looks like it's about 1.75. Click on marker options. I'm going to go to around a circle and then shrink the size of the dot. 5. I'm going to get rid of the decimal places here. I'm going to click on the bar graph there. Come down to number. I'm going to change the number of decimal places to 0. I'm going to change the title to Bookshelf Production Cost. I need to add a legend. If I click in this area where there's a parenthesis and a comma, and I click on cherry, and then I do the same thing for oak, chart design, add an element, legend. And we can put it in the bottom. That's fine. Well, let's do this. Format legend. Top right. I'll move it right over here. I'll go to home. And I'll reduce the font to, I don't know, 8. There you go. We'll put that in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, now I can right-click it, copy. I'm going to paste special as a picture. So this is the picture version of it, right? You can't edit it, or you can edit this. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna right click, save the picture as lesson 6, question 1, graph. Save it to, I don't know, downloads, and then I can upload it. So I'm gonna get rid of the picture version. I still have the one that can be edited, and I'll upload it right here. Choose file, downloads, lesson 6, question 1, graph. If you notice that I haven't graded it manually and you don't got 100% on this lesson and you think you should, make sure you email so I can make sure that you uploaded this and I can give you points for it, okay? A big part of spreadsheet modeling is what-if analysis. I'm going to show you how it's done. After revisions to GDP, inflation, and interest rates, the firm's economist revised annual wage growth and the cost of lumber up 1.8 percentage points each. So in our spreadsheet model, let me move this over here. In our spreadsheet model, we're going to do this. I'm going to copy this right here, this formula, copying that formula from row 25 to row 29 gives us the same number. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up here. I'm going to pull this down. Pull that down. I'm going to put the new percentage in there. And then I'll do the same thing for oak. So we're going to put that new revised percentage right here. And then I'm going to copy the formula in labor. And I'll have to drag this down. All right, so right here, I'm going to add 1.8 percentage points to 2.4. So now we're 4.2, right? And I'll copy that across. Then I'll copy it and paste it down here. Then I'm going to change these to a red font. And I'll type revised annual increase. Change that to red. Now I'm going to insert a row here and here. So I have my revised values, right? That gives us a different picture in year 6, right? If these prices instead grow 4.2% a year, or this one grows 3.4% a year, and this one grows 3.5% instead of 1.7%, by year 6, these will be the cost, right? Per board foot per hour. What do you get cost of the cherry? So what we have to do here is we have to copy this and oak right there, right? So we're using this revised cost per board foot, this revised cost per labor hour with the original quantities for board feet of wood and hours of labor. And we're doing the same thing for the oak bookshelves. With the revised percent increases in these input costs, cherry is going to be $7.04 6 years from now. That's what we expect. The expected cost of oak per board foot will be $5.18 in 6 years. The labor cost we expect to be $22.47 per hour. We expect the cherry bookshelf cost of production to be $570.73 per bookshelf in year 6. And then we expect that of oak bookshelves to be $514.99.